Hello, I am the Goth Bear now. I've rebranded this YouTube channel a little bit. So if you're wondering why you're subscribed to this channel and you don't know who I am, I used to be an animation meme YouTuber for context. I will probably get back into that one day, but animation takes so long that it's very hard to do that anymore. So I'm going more in the direction of fursuit making now, especially tips, not so much tutorials, but maybe that'll change in the future. Who knows? But this is what we are going to start with from now on. I've been a fursuit maker since about October 2016, something like that. So it's been about over 7 years. I've made almost 20 heads to date. And back then, there wasn't a whole lot of great tutorials on how to make stuff, and even nowadays, I still don't see enough tips out there. There aren't any tips on fabric. So I'm here to explain to you the differences between all types of fabric and what are the greatest sources to go to. Because there are a lot of shops that will sell stuff that is not good for fursuits. With fursuits, you have to have higher quality fur because this is meant to be worn. It's not meant for a carpet or anything like that. You want your suit to be built to last. You can start off with cheaper materials just to know if you like fursuit making or what direction to go into. But if you're going to do it for the long term and you want your suit to build, if you want your suit to last, you should probably stick to the higher quality things. But to start with, you can get the cheaper quality materials, that's fine. But we're going to start with the type of materials you can get. There is a lot of different things to choose from. I think for even makers who do have some experience under their belt, this video will come as great use to you, as I will have a timestamp for manufacturers that are not within the United States. I think the only main two people know about is BigZ and HowlFabric. But you have so many more options than that are just as great quality as those two. Before I get into differentiating the different fabrics, I do want to mention real quick that pile refers to the length of the fur, and density is the thickness of the fur. If it is more dense, it is better for shaving down into a shorter length and has a lot more fibers. But sometimes too high of a density can also mean it's not as soft. So I just want to preface that before anything. Also, just because I say something is a higher density does not mean that it will be for sure. There are luxury shags that are not the greatest quality. So I would recommend checking under reviews and the listing of where you're buying the fabric to make sure that you're getting what you are buying. But the likelihood is, if it's too cheap and it's too good to be true, it's not going to be that good. If you see me looking off to the side, I'm just trying to read off to make sure I'm not missing anything. So going from shortest fabric to longest, you have fleece. You're definitely familiar with this material. A lot of blankets are made out of this. You'd mostly see this used for paw pads, tongues, noses, the inner parts of the ears, or there are also characters with no fur, like let's say you have a fish fursuit, you will see a lot of those type of characters made of fleece instead of fur to give the effect of the species. The thing you need to know regarding fleece is that it is guaranteed to pill. Which pilling is basically when the fibers on a fabric bunch together, and I will show a picture of an example of how that looks. And it's very hard to hide seams on it because there's just no fur to cover it. There's ways to brush it out, but it's not the best idea. So if you have a species that does not require this form of fabric, I personally would recommend against it, but that is entirely up to you as a maker. You can make phenomenal fleece suits, but you have to find a specific type that will last the longest and make your suit look beautiful. You have to understand, even when a fabric says anti-pill on it, there is no such thing as a true anti-pill. It might take longer, but it's just a guarantee, and you have to keep up with the maintenance of it. There are ways to prevent pilling and make it look better over time. Minky is like a super short fur that is about 1 millimeter in length. You can use this as a alternative to fleece as well. You have the option of mochi minky, which is very stretchy. You see this often on paw pads, tongues, noses, and stuff, just like how you do with fleece. There are a wide variety of colors just like there is for fleece, but there's not so much patterned ones. But there are easily companies you can go to find patterned ones. Pilling doesn't happen with this like it does the fleece, and it will still definitely pass for characters without fur like how fleece can. Seal and Beaver are a very short fur. They're about half of an inch or about 1.3 centimeters. It is very soft and is fairly high density. This is the only fabric I haven't really worked with, but I can still show examples from other makers on the screen that have given me permission to use their fursuits as an example. It is actually really good for shaving, and it may not even have to be shaved at all because half an inch is already pretty short as is. Seal, unfortunately, does not seem to come in a lot of colors compared to other types of fur. Teddy and bunny furs are usually about an inch in length or about 2.5 centimeters. I think this is my favorite fabric to work with, personally. It has good density for shaving, super, super soft, especially if you get it from the right source. It's really good for the face, the ears, or if your character in general has a shorter pelt, or even more complex designs where long fur will cover up the patterns and you don't want to shave it. I think this is great. To my understanding, I think bunny isn't as good in density compared to teddy, but otherwise it's about the same fabric. Shag is probably the most common fur you can find. It is the fur I used on this suit. It comes in about 2-inch pile or 5 centimeters. I think it clumps a lot easier compared to other furs, so you have to brush it fairly frequently compared to teddy or bunny or any of the shorter ones like that. It can shave well, but it can look a little scruffy when it's on a bodysuit. It's normally best if you keep the bodysuit to teddy furs and all of that stuff. In my opinion, the best shops that have luxury shag is HowlFabrics and BigZ, but I don't tend to buy from other people. And when I do buy from other people, I have noticed I don't receive as dense of fur, so it won't be as good for shaving. Fox is a very dense fabric, but it is not as soft due to that. It is amazing for shaving. It comes in a pile of 2 inches to 2.5 inches, or 5 to 6 centimeters. Shaves much better than shag. I know a lot of people who prefer to work with this instead of luxury shag, but it does not come in as many colors as the other types of fur. But due to the great density of this fur, you need to watch giving it to a sewing machine, because I noticed with my sewing machine, it eats up needles like no tomorrow. And at least in my area, it's not very cheap to get good sewing needles, so keep that in mind if you are going to give this to a sewing machine. Monster or long pile fur is great for hair on a fursuit, but due to its length, it is not good density. You do not want to shave this. You should only buy this if you are using it for the hair on a fursuit. It is 4 to 5 inches long or 10 to 13 centimeters for its pile. And it tends to be very thin due to this. You really cannot find this in many colors other than black and white or blue, because that's just the most common colors used on a character. I should mention Mongolian fur, as I have made this mistake in the past. You should not buy this for fursuits. It is not the same as the other ones. It is very curly, and it comes in about a 2-inch pile or 5 centimeters, just like luxury shag does. It's very thin, it's not very great for shaving, but I do see this used well when it's something like a sheep, where they are meant to have curly fur. Now, I'm going into lining fabrics as well. This is not all about fur. You do not need to line your fursuit. I think it is best when you only put it in a head, certain hand paws, feet. I don't really recommend putting lining into things like arm sleeves and bodysuits, things that cover more of your body, because it really brings in more heat most of the time. And it's also really good when you have sensory issues. If you do not like the touch of foam on your face, or the backing of some fabrics, especially on the cheaper end, can be really itchy, it is also acceptable to use it at those times. Lycra Spandex is a much thinner and lightweight fabric. You're probably familiar with this because of bathing suits. That is typically when you see it, and you'll see it on some athletic wear. In my personal experience, this is the most breathable material you can use on a fursuit. But the main reason why people don't like it is because it's very hard to give to the sewing machine due to how thin it is. So typically you have to put something on the back of it so that way it will not tangle or get caught in the machine. And another reason why people don't like it is because they have a hard time gluing it. They make it too wrinkly. But with the stretchability of this fabric, to me, I think it's fairly easy to work with. There's a lot of room. There's a lot of room to work with this fabric. It comes in many different colors. I think you can find this in patterns too. I'm sure you can get it custom printed as well. One I see used a lot and I've used is Neoprene. It is very easy to sew compared to spandex, and it comes in a lot of colors and some patterns. You can get it custom printed as well. I personally don't like it because it's a bit thicker, and I feel like there are other fabrics that are more breathable than this. I have seen quilting fabric mostly used in heads and feet paws. I don't really see it used otherwise in suits. I will leave an image of it up here. I haven't worked with it. I don't know how good it is. In my opinion, I would feel like it's very thick, so it would definitely be good to give to a sewing machine. But otherwise, I don't know the breathability of it. I've seen some people use cotton fabric in fursuits as their lining. I truly do not recommend it. It is a thinner fabric, but with it being cotton, it does keep a lot of heat in. I don't think this should be used for lining, but it is entirely up to you at the end of the day what fabric you want to use for your lining. Do not let my video dictate what you want to do with your fursuit. If that fabric is most comfortable for you, put it in. But this is just my experience with the fabrics I've found in my area. Maybe there are ones in your area that are better than what I have. Also, cotton comes in just about every color and pattern I have ever seen. Before I get into fabric manufacturers, I just want to say I know that there are a lot of local fabric shops in many countries, but I don't know the quality of their fabric. I haven't been to every single fabric shop ever, unfortunately. So I can't tell you when things are great quality for a fursuit. It is entirely up to you to buy it. Do what you think is good for your fursuit. Great ways to tell that if a fabric is higher quality: if you spread the fur apart and if you see the backing of it, it may not be great for a fursuit. It's probably better for something like a plush. Also, a big one I don't think people talk about is the backing of it. If it is not tightly woven, and if you think cutting into it, it is going to fray like no tomorrow, do not use that for a fursuit. Your suit will fall apart and your stitching will not hold together very well. Probably the most popular manufacturer is HowlFabrics. It is catered towards furries. They probably have the greatest quality fabric I have ever experienced. They have a lot of rare colors that other shops don't have because they know what colors furries need. They have a lot, especially when it comes to teddy and luxury shag. They are based in the southern United States. Also, occasionally, they do take suggestions for colors, which is amazing. You don't see that from a lot of shops. Also, you need to watch because colors go out of stock very often. BigZFabric was the other popular one to go to, but allegedly people have been experiencing a massive quality drop, and with their Neoprene and their Minky, they've been having a color weight problem even after they supposedly addressed the issue. I personally have not experienced this from this company, but I also hadn't bought fabric from them in a very long time, so I hope that they can improve from this. Otherwise, they've had a great reputation in the past and have great luxury shag and have a lot of colors. They are based in the California, United States. I'm very sorry if I butcher this, but Stoffhummel is Big Z's partner in Europe. It's not known if they have the same problems right now as Big Z, but I would assume they probably have similar given that they are partnered with them, but do not quote me on that. I hope the sudden audio change does not affect anyone because it is raining so hard here. It's going to be very hard to understand me unless I use my old headphones for this. Fursuitsupplies, I have ordered from them before. Their quality has been nothing but great in my opinion, but other people I've heard different things from. I recommend ordering swatches from them first because I've ordered a fabric from them one time and I've received something completely different than the listing picture. Otherwise, I think they have a decent variety of colors, but I don't think they have anything considered rare. CanFur is a Canadian-based seller that sells mostly short pile furs and Minky, but they don't seem to sell a whole lot of colors, but it still may be a good alternative for people who need those colors in Canada. Mofumofu is a fursuit maker and a fur seller based in China. I haven't ordered from them personally, but I've heard so many great things about them on Twitter. I will leave some screenshots on the screen about things I've heard, especially their 4-way stretch fur has been amazing. The shipping, I've heard, has been amazing to Canada and Australia. I heard it was cheap, even as low as $1. Furaddiction is based in Queensland, Australia. They have much more limited colors compared to other manufacturers listed. The last one I really have anything to say about is Wholesale on AliExpress. I've heard great things about them. They have a lot of swatches of Minky and fur for a fairly good price. This may be a nice alternative for those who don't want to get really expensive fur. They seem to have nice density fur and all that stuff. I know there's definitely some people I left out, but these are definitely the most popular shops I have seen for fursuit makers. If there are any shops you want to ask about or think deserve some more recognition, you can leave them in the comments. I will update in the description or a pinned comment if there are anything worth mentioning. Etsy shops especially I have bought a lot from in the past, so I could definitely tell you ones I have my own opinions on. I think a lot of them are overpriced, but there might be some better ones out there. So please remember, at the end of the day, my video should not fully dictate how you feel about certain shops. Buy from whoever you want, get whatever fabric you want. You know what is good for your character or whatever your creation will be. Also, if you have future video suggestions, please let me know in the comments. I will see if I'm willing to do any of them. I'm not wanting to do a full head tutorial or anything like that, but anything like tips or tutorials on shaving fur, lining, things like that, I'm good with. In the description are all my social medias, all that stuff. And make sure you like and subscribe so that way this will get out there. I plan on uploading a lot of things that other people haven't yet. Not to be different, but because I think there are some things that do not have enough information. Just like how people don't know where to buy fabric. So do tell me some things that you think are not discussed enough. If there are any suggestions or things I can elaborate on for this video, please let me know. I have a bit of a concussion right now, so I'm struggling to speak and make sure things are elaborated on properly. Bye bye!